March 21st, 2022 was an ordinary spring afternoon in Kunming, Yunnan province. China Eastern Airlines Flight 5735, a routine domestic service from Kunming Changshui International Airport to Guangzhou Baiyun International Airport, was scheduled to transport 123 passengers and 9 crew members on a flight lasting just under 2 hours. The pilot in command was an experienced captain with over 6,700 flight hours, while his first officer had logged more than 30,000 hours, an incredible achievement and sign of his long career with commercial aviation. The two, along with their dedicated cabin crew, were set for an uneventful journey through the clear skies of southern China. Founded in 1988, China Eastern Airlines had grown into one of the country's largest carriers, with an extensive domestic and international network. Headquartered in Shanghai, the airline operated thousands of flights daily and maintained one of the largest fleets in Asia, with more than 600 aircraft, including a mix of Airbus and Boeing models. China Eastern was one of the 3 major state-owned airlines in China, alongside Air China and China Southern Airlines, and played a vital role in the country's aviation industry by offering both domestic and international routes spanning Asia, Europe, North America, and Australia. China Eastern prided itself on its safety record and adherence to strict maintenance protocols, following Civil Aviation Administration of China regulations and international aviation safety standards. The airline regularly underwent rigorous audits and compliance checks from global aviation authorities, ensuring it met operational benchmarks. Despite this strong reputation, Flight 5735 would become its first major fatal accident in nearly 2 decades, challenging the perception of its safety record and leading to increased scrutiny of its operational oversight. The Boeing 737-800, part of Boeing's next-generation series, was designed to be a workhorse for airlines worldwide. Introduced in the late 1990s, the 737-800 became one of the most widely used aircraft models for short and medium-haul routes due to its fuel efficiency, reliability, and modern avionics. It was the backbone of fleets for many airlines worldwide, including China Eastern, which operated dozens of the type. Flight 5735 was operating on one such aircraft, registered as B-1791, which had been delivered new to China Eastern Airlines in June 2015. The aircraft had accumulated nearly 7 years of service at the time of the crash and had logged thousands of flight hours. According to maintenance records, B-1791 had undergone routine inspections in accordance with China Eastern maintenance program, with its most recent checks revealing no mechanical faults. It was subject to the airline's strict regulatory oversight, ensuring compliance with CAAC regulations. Additionally, Boeing had not issued any airworthiness directives for the aircraft model at the time, reinforcing expectations for a safe and routine flight. The cockpit was helmed by a well-trained crew. The captain, Yang Honga, was 32 years old and had accumulated 6,709 flight hours since becoming a Boeing 737 pilot in January 2018. His first officer, Zhang Xinping, was a 59-year-old veteran with an impressive 31,769 flight hours. He was one of China's most experienced commercial pilots and had even trained more than 100 captains throughout his career. The second officer, Ni Gongtao, was just 27 years old with 556 flight hours and was on board for training purposes. The cabin crew included 5 flight attendants and 1 security officer, all trained to ensure the safety and comfort of passengers throughout the journey. Among the 123 passengers on board were individuals from various walks of life, reflecting a diverse cross-section of society. The Civil Aviation Administration of China confirmed that all occupants were Chinese nationals, representing 74 families across 17 provinces. By 13:15 local time, Flight 5735 was airborne, climbing smoothly over the rolling landscapes of Yunnan. The aircraft reached a cruising altitude of 29,100 feet at approximately 13 hours 27. The weather was clear and there were no reported turbulence or technical anomalies. Inside the cabin, passengers settled in for the short journey, unaware that disaster was less than an hour away. At 14:22, air traffic controllers monitoring Flight 5735 noticed an alarming deviation. Without warning, the aircraft nosedived at an almost vertical angle. It dropped from 29,100 feet to 7,400 feet in just over 2 minutes, a nearly unprecedented rate of descent, with reports indicating speeds that may have approached or exceeded the speed of sound. However, at approximately 7,400 feet, the aircraft appeared to regain some control, leveling off and briefly climbing to around 8,600 feet. This sudden recovery sparked momentary hope among those tracking the flight. Yet within seconds, the aircraft entered another steep dive, resuming its catastrophic descent. The final recorded altitude was 3,225 feet at 14:22, moments before it impacted the ground. A security camera from a nearby mining site captured the final moments of Flight 5735 in a near vertical dive before impact. The crash created a crater approximately 100 feet wide and 66 feet deep in a mountainous area near Molang village in Teng County, Guangxi. The debris was scattered over a vast area, and the impact ignited a fire that spread through the surrounding bamboo groves, complicating the immediate emergency response. Emergency responders rushed to the site, battling thick vegetation, steep terrain, and fires caused by the crash. The Wuzhou Fire and Rescue Department dispatched firefighters at 15:05 local time, with units from nearby Tangbu arriving at 15:56. Additional reinforcements from cities including Guilin, Beihai, Hezhou, Laibin, and Hechi were deployed by 16:40. In total, over 450 firefighters and rescue personnel were involved in the operation. The challenging terrain and fire hindered access, and it took responders until 17:25 to fully extinguish the flames. Medical teams from the Guangxi Health Commission and Wuzhou Health Commission were also dispatched, along with psychological experts to assist grieving families. Despite the swift and coordinated response, the catastrophic nature of the crash meant there were no survivors among the 132 on board. The Civil Aviation Administration of China launched an immediate and extensive investigation with support from Boeing, the US National Transport Safety Board, and experts from France's Bureau of Inquiry and Analysis for Civil Aviation Safety. Investigators focused on recovering and analyzing both the cockpit voice recorder and the flight data recorder, which were found embedded deep within the impact crater. Both black boxes had sustained severe damage due to the force of the crash, requiring specialized forensic techniques to extract data. The analysis of the black boxes was a painstaking process, as the extreme impact had fragmented parts of the recorders. Investigators worked closely with forensic labs to recover audio from the cockpit and flight parameters that could offer insights to the aircraft's behavior. No mechanical failures, structural anomalies, or external environmental factors such as adverse weather or bird strikes were detected. This deepened the mystery surrounding the aircraft's sudden descent, as the data showed that the plane was functioning normally until the moment it abruptly left its cruising altitude. A significant aspect of the investigation involved assessing potential human factors. The absence of a distress call or emergency communication from the pilots led investigators to consider whether deliberate actions from the cockpit could have played a role. Officials also examined the possibility of medical or psychological incapacitation, but no conclusive evidence has been found to support this theory. Investigators analyzed large amounts of wreckage to reconstruct the final moments of the flight, ruling out many conventional failure scenarios such as mechanical malfunctions or environmental factors. Speculation arose regarding the possibility of intentional pilot action due to the controlled nature of the aircraft's brief recovery before resuming its steep descent. However, Chinese authorities have remained reserved in their statements, neither confirming nor denying this theory. The investigation has continued to focus on all potential causes, including external interference, aircraft system malfunctions, and crew performance. As of early 2025, no definitive cause has been released, and the investigation remains ongoing, leaving many unanswered questions about what truly led to the disaster. In China, commercial pilots undergo regular health evaluations to ensure they meet the physical and mental requirements necessary for safe flight operations. These evaluations are conducted in accordance with the standards set by the Civil Aviation Administration of China. Pilots are typically required to undergo medical examinations annually, which include assessments of their physical health, vision, hearing, and psychological well-being. The crash of Germanwings Flight 9525 in 2015, where the co-pilot deliberately crashed the aircraft, prompted global aviation authorities to re-evaluate mental health screening processes for pilots. In response, some countries implemented more rigorous psychological assessments and peer support programs to identify and support pilots dealing with mental health issues. While China has established medical standards for pilots, the specific protocols regarding psychological evaluations and support systems are less publicly documented. The CAAC has acknowledged the importance of mental health and has encouraged airlines to establish mental health support systems, but detailed implementation varies among carriers. In the aftermath of Flight 5735's crash, there has been increased scrutiny regarding the mental health evaluation processes for pilots in China. Discussions have emerged about enhancing psychological assessments and establishing more robust support systems to ensure pilots' mental well-being. As investigations continue, the findings may influence future policies and regulations concerning pilot mental health evaluations in China. Nationwide, marking the highest cancellation rate of the year, this disruption underscored immediate concerns regarding aviation safety and the ripple effects of such a tragedy on the broader transportation network. Internationally, aviation authorities took swift action. India's Directorate General of Civil Aviation placed all Boeing 737 aircraft operated by Indian carriers under enhanced surveillance, affecting airlines like SpiceJet, Vistara, and Air India Express. This move highlighted global apprehensions about the aircraft model involved in the crash. Additionally, financial markets reacted sharply, with Boeing shares dropping by 7.8% in the US, and China Eastern Airlines seeing a 6.5% decline on the Hong Kong Stock Exchange, reflecting investor concerns about potential implications for the aviation industry. Families of the victims gathered at makeshift memorials in both Kunming and Guangzhou, where mourners paid their respects. The Chinese government mobilized over 1,000 psychological counselors to provide emotional support to grieving families, emphasizing the nation's commitment to addressing the profound human impact of the disaster. Vigils and remembrance services were held across China, with victims' families expressing sorrow and frustration over the limited information released by investigators. Despite these efforts, many families remained frustrated by the lack of conclusive answers regarding the cause of the crash. The prolonged investigation process, coupled with sparse official updates, led to widespread concerns about transparency. The crash also reignited discussions about aviation safety protocols, pilot training, and aircraft maintenance standards, both within China and on a global scale. As of early 2025, the final investigation report has yet to be released, leaving many questions unanswered and highlighting the complexities involved in aviation accident investigations. External environmental factors has intensified focus on human and operational elements, with investigators analyzing whether systematic issues in training, cockpit automation, or airline oversight may have played a role. China Eastern Airlines has responded by reinforcing its internal safety procedures, including enhancing pilot monitoring systems, expanding psychological evaluations for flight crews, and increasing oversight of operational protocols. The CAAC has also urged airlines to adopt more stringent mental health screening for pilots and expand real-time monitoring of flight data to detect anomalies before they escalate into catastrophic events. Globally, aviation regulators are closely watching the investigation, as its findings could influence future cockpit security measures and pilot assessment frameworks. As of early 2025, unresolved aviation disasters like Flight 5735 continue to raise pressing questions about flight safety, operational reliability, and human factor vulnerabilities. The tragedy underscores the need for continued advancements in aircraft monitoring technology, enhanced pilot support systems, and more proactive intervention strategies to prevent similar incidents. While the final CAAC report remains pending, its conclusions are expected to shape future regulatory policies, potentially influencing global aviation standards in areas such as emergency response protocols, aircraft automation oversight, and psychological assessments for pilots. The crash of Flight 5735 stands as a solemn reminder that, even in an era of advanced aviation technology, unexplained disasters still demand unwavering vigilance, rigorous investigation, and continuous improvements in safety protocols.